Okay, so um, well, Bloom says justice. All Ireland versus one. Has nobody, and he bites his thumb. We said the other day that at this stage he's going to recover his virility. You remember that he was playing the role of a woman because he will get his Molly back, no, the potato in this case. So Bello, still a man, although she's a woman, says, "Die and be damned to you if you have any sense of decency or grace about you. I can give you a rare old wine that sends you skipping to hell and back. Sign a will and leave us any coin you have." So the part of this masochist situation uh, is for the victim, in this case Bloom, to give up all his money to the victimizer. If you have none, see you damn well get it, steal it, rob it. We'll bury you in our shrubbery jakes where you'll be dead and dirty with old Cac Cohen. My step nephew I married, the bloody old gouty procurator and sodomite with a crick in his neck, and my other 10 or 11 husbands, whatever the buggers' names were, suffocated in the one cesspool. He explodes in a loud, flaming laugh. "We'll manure you, Mr. Flower." He pipes scoffingly. "Bye bye, Poldy. Bye bye, Papley." So, uh, poor Bloom, because he is condemned uh, by this woman. Wait, because the page is not responding. I can't move the. A ver ahora. Yes. Uh-huh. My God. So, why? I don't know if you read what I sent you yesterday in connection with the form that Joyce chose for this passage, because the explanation about the choice of the play form, yes, that what I sent you is something that a critic said, that the choice that he had of having this as a play is very good, because this is the way in which our dreams take place, not as a story, not as not
That's
as the
true. Yes.
unconscious, yes, because we were reading before the flow of the unconscious. No, in a dream we see it like a play. So
Yes.
this is one of the explanations that this form has been chosen, and it is very effective, no? So Bloom clasps his head. "My willpower, memory, I have sinned, I have suffered." He weeps tearlessly. And Bello says, sneers, "Cry, baby, crocodile tears." So all this idea that he, as a victim of this masochist game, he feels, he cries. And Bello says, "These are crocodile's tears. They are not true." So Bloom, broken, closely veiled for the sacrifice, sobs, his face to the earth. The passing bell is heard. Dark shawled figures of the circumcised, in sackcloth and ashes, stand by the wailing wall. M. Shulomowitz, Joseph Goldwater, Moses Herzog, Harris Rosenberg, M. Moisel, J. Citron, Minnie Watchman, Pei Mastiansky, the Reverend Leopold Abramovich Chazen. With swaying arms, they wail in Numa over the recreant Bloom. Why is this? Because what they are representing here is the
All the
uh,
names
be-
are Jewish.
claro, because this is the way in which Jewish men are buried. For the burial ceremony, you need seven Jewish men around the one who is dead. So
Ah.
this is representing the burial of a Jewish man with all these names. You need these seven men to be around, yes, for the ceremony. And if you pay attention, there is one who is the rabbi, el rabino, no, the Reverend Leopold Abramovich. Yes. So they should be all circumcised. They should all be Jewish, no? So now
Jewish.
the circumcised appear in dark guttural chants as they cast Dead Sea fruit upon him. No flowers. In the ceremony, what they throw is flowers, the same as in our ceremonies. But here they throw Dead Sea fruit, which is I mean,
Bueno.
the phrase that we use when we say Dead Sea fruit means it is something that appears to be nice, but it is bitter when you eat it. You use it, the phrase you use it when you see that something is not what it appears. For instance, I don't know, you give somebody or you receive a present and you say, this is Dead Sea fruit. Como que you understand the idea, no? It is not what it appears to be. So to throw Dead Sea fruit on Bloom means that he doesn't deserve flowers because he is not what he appears. Do you understand the idea? And
Yes.
they pronounce the words that they pronounce at a Jewish burial. Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Yes, a prayer. The voices sighing, so he's gone. Yes. So Bloom dies here. This is Bloom's death. And he is being buried. So he's gone. Yes, yes, indeed. Bloom, never heard of him. No, queer kind of chap. There's the widow. That's so. Yes. So when he dies, in his dream, he sees the people there and he hears what they say and he realizes that for these people, he was nobody. So this is something that some people have experienced, not my case, but I read about it, that some people dream of the moment they die, and they dream of the people in there crying or I don't know, saying things. In the case of Bloom, this dream is a very sad one because he's not going to be remembered. He's nobody. But the widow appears, so Molly is here. So from the Sati pyre, this is funny because the pyre is for the Indian burials, the ones
Yes.
who have the tradition of burning the body in a pyre, la pira, son los
Mira.
indios, no los judíos. So this is a mixture of, from the Sati pyre, the flame of gum campfire ascends. The pall of incense smoke screens and disperses. Out of her oak frame, a nymph with hair unbound, lightly clad in tea brown art colors, descends from her grotto and passing under interlacing yews stands over Bloom. Now, who is this nymph? I don't know if you remember, probably not, that on the bed, Bloom's and Molly's bed, on the bed, there was
Yes,
a
the picture.
picture
The
of a
picture.
nymph, claro, of a nymph, sí, una
Ah,
ninfa en el
yeah,
groto,
yeah,
yo les había mandado la fotito, como en un bosque o en una cosa así muy... And that nymph is the one that appears here. That's why it says lightly
in his
clad in
dream.
tea brown art colors, no, the colors of the picture. And she descends from her grotto, from all this place full of plants, and passing under interlacing yews, the trees, stands over Bloom. So the yews, the trees, say, their leaves whispering, "Sister, our sister, shh." And the nymph says, softly, "Mortal, nay, does not weepest." So the nymph tells Bloom not to cry, and Bloom crawls jellily forward under the boughs, streaked by sunlight with dignity. This position, I felt it was expected of me, force of habit. What this shows, evidently, is that Bloom is um, so accustomed to be in this position of being a victim. He's always a victim in a way because he lets Molly have an affair. He is insulted by other men. He's criticized. So he's always in this position of a victim. And that's why he says, this position, I felt it was expected of me, force of habit, right? So the nymph says, Mortal, you found me in evil company. High kickers, coaster picnic makers, pugilists, popular generals, immoral panto boys. The panto boys are the ones who do pantomime, ¿sí? Que actuaban haciendo pantomima, ¿sí? In flesh tights and the nifty shimmy dancers. L'Aurora and Carini, these were two cabarets. Musical act, the hit of the century. I was hidden in cheap pink paper that smelled of rock oil. I was surrounded by the stale smut of clubmen, stories to disturb callow youth, ads for transparencies, trued up dice and bust pads, propriety articles, and why wear a trust with testimonial from raptured gentlemen, useful hints to the married. So the nymph is also denigrated because instead of being a nymph, she has been with all these men in nightclubs. Yes, so her life has also been deteriorated and treated in this way. So Bloom lifts a turtle head towards her lap. We have met before on another star. They have met before because
Sorry,
this was.
sorry. Did you
Sorry,
hear
did
the
you hear the
noises?
noises? I
No,
don't. No.
no,
Which? No.
no. No, I want to
I want to
because my neighbors
my
are
neighbors
destroying
are
the
destroying the
apartment.
apartment.
And
Ah,
wait a minute.
wait a minute. Yes. No, no. I didn't hear anything. Probably she was hearing some. Is that okay?
All days.
All day.
No,
No.
no, but
No, but
you didn't
you
hear.
didn't
This is
hear.
sad.
No,
This is
no, no,
sad.
no, no. We don't. We don't.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
But
okay.
here is
But
her.
here is her. So um, this idea that they have met before is connected with the thing that she was the nymph in the bedroom picture.
His bedroom,
This
yes.
was the nymph on his bed. So we have met before on another star at another time. Why? Because now you will see that he Bloom has had certain fantasies with the nymph, right? Because the nymph is also, it isn't thin as all nymphs, no, a bit plump, see, like the women he likes, like Molly. And so apparently he has had some fantasies, no, con la ninfa. Um, and the nymph says sadly, rubber goods, never rebrand as applied to the aristocracy. Corsets for men, IQ affits or money refunded. Unsolicited testimonials for Professor Waltzman's wonderful chest exuber. Do you remember Professor Waltzman? I sent you the information, but long ago. He was a man who taught men how to have better muscles. Era como uno de, ¿cómo dicen ahora los que hacen ¿cómo se llama? Que hacen todos esos
Fisicoculturismo.
músculos. Físico-culturismo. Bueno, ¿se acuerdan que les mandé a professor that taught to have muscles, etc., but at that time?
Yes.
Sí. That's why he says unsolicited testimonials for Professor Waltzman's wonderful chest exuber. My bust developed 4 inches in 3 weeks, reports Mrs. Gus Rabling with photos. So no, this was a very common marketing of that time, no? People sending photographs of how they have improved, in this case, the muscles, ¿no? Entonces el busto lo mejoró no, 4 pulgadas in 3 weeks. And she sent a photo. And Bloom says, you mean photo beats? Again, something that appeared earlier. Photo beats were these magazines with photographs, well, kind of rather pornographic photographs, no? Well, not like today's, but well. And the nymph says, I do. You bore me away, framed me in oak and tinsel, set me about your marriage couch, you see? So the nymph is telling Bloom, you took me, put me in a frame, en un marco, set me above your marriage couch. Unseen, one summer eve, you kissed me in 4 places. And with loving pencil, you shaded my eyes, my bosom, and my shame. So apparently, this is part of Bloom's fantasy with the nymph in the picture, no? And so he says humbly, kissing her long hair, your classic curves, beautiful, immortal. I was glad to look on you, to praise you, a thing of beauty, almost to pray. And the nymph says, during dark nights, I heard you praise. So now we can see that Bloom had fantasies with the nymph.
Yes,
Eh, It is so funny, no, to think of.
yeah.
Now, but now you can see that he is recovering his virility. He's not the woman he was before in this masochist game with Bello, no? Now he is more of a man. And he says, yes, yes, you mean that sleep reveals the worst side of everyone, children perhaps excepted. And this is what he's saying about dreams, no? In your dreams, you can dream of the worst things you can imagine. No, that's why he says sleep reveals the worst side of everyone, children perhaps excepted. Following
Well, at that
Freud.
time, Freud wrote the interpretation, the dreams interpretation.
Claro. And now this is following Freud directly.
Yes.
Yes. I know I fell out of bed, or rather was pushed. Still wine is said to cure snoring. For the rest, there is that English invention, pamphlet of which I received some days ago, incorrectly addressed. It claims to afford a noiseless, inoffensive vent. He sighs. 'Twas ever thus. Frailty, thy name is marriage. Well, you will remember this phrase because yes, frailty, thy name is woman. Yes, you remember when Hamlet says this about Ophelia. Yes, frailty, thy name is woman. And he says here, frailty, thy name is marriage. Because he was pushed out of the bed by Molly. She pushed him out of the bed. And apparently she accuses him of snoring, yes, roncar, and also of some vent, de algunos gases. So she accused him and pushed him out of the bed. And he says, well, it was ever thus. Frailty, thy name is marriage. So the nymph, her fingers in her ears, and words, they are not in my dictionary. So the nymph is very pure because she's a nymph, and those words are not in her dictionary. So Bloom says, you understood them. And the youth says, shh. So the nymph covers her face with her hands. What have I not seen in that chamber? What must my eyes look down on? So the nymph is horrified at the things she has seen in Bloom's bed. And Bloom says, apologetically, I know, soiled personal linen, wrong side up with care, the quoits are loose. ¿Se acuerdan? Quoits son esas bolas de bronce en la cama, en los bordes de la cama, ¿no? Que hacían ruido cuando se movía la cama. From Gibraltar by long sea long ago. From Gibraltar, we know it is Molly. Molly was born there. So apparently, Molly was very active in bed and she moved the bed. And the nymph says, bends her head, worse, worse. So Bloom reflects precautiously. That antiquated commode, it wasn't her weight. uh, Molly has apparently sat on the furniture, en la cómoda, se había apoyado en la cómoda y la había roto. But he says it wasn't her weight. No era porque era pesada. She scaled just 11 stone 9. This is what we will learn later, that Molly will tell us, that she increased her weight when she was pregnant. After her pregnancy, she was 11 stone 9 more. Quedó más gordita. ¿Sí? She put on 9 pounds after weaning. You remember weaning, dejar de dar de mamar.
Sí.
It was a crack and want of glue, and that absurd orange keyed utensil which has only one handle. This utensil is the bowl that they had under the bed. See, it was to pee at night, and it was with a orange kid con un borde anaranjado, ¿sí? Como un bordecito era de porcelana, with only one handle. The sound of waterfall is heard in bright cascade because when they pee, there was a sound of a waterfall. And the waterfall says Pula Puka, Pula Puka, Pula Puka, Pula Puka, which is the name of the water system in Ireland. Yes? They use mingling their vows. Listen, whisper. She is right, our sister. We grew by Pula Puka waterfall. We gave shade on languorous summer days. The one who appears here is John Wise Nolan. You remember the member of the government, yes? So that individual who was a real one, so important. And this man was the one who escaped with Bloom when he was running. Because he was in a cart in a kind of taxi, yes, when they were trying to kill him, to throwing stones at him. So John Wise Nolan, in the background, in Irish National Forester uniform, doffs his plumed hat. Prosper, give shade on languorous days, trees of Ireland. So the use say mingling their boughs. No, sorry, trees of Ireland. Who came to Pulapuka with the high school excursion? Who left his not questing classmates to seek our shade? And of course, who was it? Bloom. When Bloom went as an excursion, when he was finishing the school, yes, when he was a child, he went to this this place where Pula Puka was. High School of Pula, Nemo, not in full possession of faculties, concussion, run over by tram. So apparently, when he went to that excursion, he had a concussion, a hit on the head, and he doesn't remember. The echo says sham, and Bloom, pigeon breasted, bottle shouldered, padded, in nondescript juvenile gray and black striped suit. Now he's dressed like a schoolboy. ¿Sí? Tiene la ropa de cuando iba al colegio. Too small for him. White tennis shoes, bordered stockings with turnover tops, and a red school cap with badge. I was in my teens, a growing boy. A little then sufficed, a jolting car, the mingling odors of the ladies' cloakroom and lavatory, the throng pent tight on the old royal stairs, for they love crashes, instinct of the herd, and the dark sex smelling theatre and bridal's vice, even a price list of their hosiery, and then the heat. There were sunspots that summer, end of school, and tipsy cake, halcyon days. The expression halcyon days, you remember, is the happy days of the past, means, no? So he remembers when he was at school And look at, you remember that we said that Bloom was very sensitive to smells? And now he remembers when he was a teenager how women smell. He smells the smell of women, and he connects this smell with the smell of sex. And that's why he says the smell of the ladies' cloakroom and lavatory. Yes, the smell in the stairs. He calls it the instinct of the herd, ¿no? El instinto de la manada, because he was young at that moment, and the dark sex smelling theater and bridal's vice. So the way he felt, no, like full of hormones, I imagine at this time. And then the heat. It was a very hot summer, end of school, halcyon days, no? And tipsy cake, because apparently they ate some cake, and this cake had some alcohol. Tipsy cake es una torta húmeda, ¿no? Con alcohol. So, halcyon days, high school boys in blue and white football jerseys and shorts, Master Donald Turnbull, Master Abraham Chatterton, these are all his friends from the school. Master Owen Goldberg, Master Jack Meredith, Master Percy Upjohn stand in a clearing of the trees and shout to Master Leopold Bloom. So all his schoolmates appear. And the Halcyon Days say, Mackerel, leave us again, hooray. Bloom says, hobbled the oi, warm gloved, mama muffled, starred with spent snowballs, struggles to rise. Again, I feel 16. What a lark. Let's ring all the bells in Montague Street. He cheers feebly. Hooray for the high school. And the echo says fool. So he remembers what they shouted at that time, when what they felt. And the trees, the yews, said rustling, she's right, our sister, whisper. Whispered kisses are heard in all the wood. Faces of hamadryads peep out from the boles and among the leaves and break, blossoming into bloom. Who profaned our silent shade? So, who profaned? Of course, the boys, because in this place where they went to enjoy the day, to have an excursion, a day out, the trees are full of the shouts of the boys. And so the nymph says, coyly, parting fingers, there in the open air. And the youth says, sister, yes, and on our virgin sword. The waterfall, pula puka, pupa puka, puka puka. The nymph with white fingers. Oh, infamy. So the funny thing here is that the idea is that all this pastoral scene, no, the nymph is in a pastoral scene full of surrounded by trees and by plants. Everything is so pure, but all the boys who went there shouting and wanting to have sex because they are 16 and they are so active, sexual, they want to be sexually active, that disturbed the peace of the pastoral scene. That's why the nymph says, oh, infamy. And Bloom says, I was precocious. Sí, yo era muy jovencito. The youth, the fauna, I sacrificed to the god of the forest. The flowers that bloom in the spring. It was pairing time. You understand pairing time?
Claro.
Sí, what do we call it in Spanish? The time when
Apareamiento.
animals... Claro, la época de apareamiento. Capillary attraction is a natural phenomenon. Lottie Clark, flaxen-haired, I saw at her night toilette through ill-closed curtains with poor Papa's opera glasses. So this is what Bloom did. He spied on a girl, Lottie Clark, when she was undressing herself because the curtains were not completely drawn. And so he spied with Papa's opera glasses. The wanton ate grass widely. She rolled downhill at Rialto Bridge to tempt me with her flow of animal spirits. She climbed their crook tree, and I, a saint, couldn't resist it. The demon possessed me. Besides, who saw? So, this was a secret that he had spied on a girl. But at the same time, we must remember that we have already said that Bloom was a kind of voyeur in previous episodes. And here you see the beginning of this voyeurism. He was a voyeur when he was 16. So, staggering Bob, a white polled calf, thrusts a ruminating head with humid nostrils through the foliage. Staggering Bob, large teardrops rolling from his prominent eye snivels. Me, see. This is a kind of Staggering Bob es el ejemplo de los voyeurs, ¿no? Es como un nombre fijo. So he appears and he says, me, see. And Bloom, simply satisfying a need, I, with pathos, no girl would when I went girling. Too ugly, they wouldn't play. So, uh, Bloom, and we also know this because we read this before, Bloom was not accepted by girls because he believes he was too ugly. And so he explains his habit of watching because he couldn't have any other thing. He says he had a need that he had to satisfy, and no girl would when I went girling. So the girls didn't accept him because he was too ugly. They wouldn't play. So the only solution he found was to look at girls and to
To see
spy.
the
To
others.
see the others. Claro, to spy on girls with the opera glasses that he inherited from his father. High on Ben House through rhododendrons, a nanny goat passes, plum padded, body tail dropping currants. The nanny goat bleats, mega, mega, nanny. And Bloom, hatless, flushed, covered with bursts of thistledown and gorspin. Claro, está todo cubierto de espinas y de ramitas, porque para espiar se metía abajo de los árboles.
En el follaje, claro.
En el follaje. Regularly engaged, circumstances alter cases. He gazes intently downwards on the water. 32 head over heels per second. You know, this is the speed, the velocity of a body that falls. 32 head over heels per second. Because remember that Bloom knows a lot about physics and chemistry and all this, no? So, press nightmare, giddy Elijah.
The velocity of what?
Of a body falling. Si alguien se tira de un balcón, por ejemplo, ¿sí? So, 32 head over heels per second. Press nightmare. So, this is the nightmare he had. And he says, giddy Elijah. You remember Elijah, Elias, yes, in the Bible, because he identifies himself with Elijah, because Elijah was rejected. Yes, he was always rejected. Fall from cliff. Sad end of government printer's clerk. So he identifies himself with Elijah, and he feels that he was like him. He was rejected. Through silver silent summer air, the dummy of Bloom. You understand? Dummy es lo que se usa para ponerle ropa en los negocios. What do you call it?
Como un muñeco sería.
Sí, los muñecos, eso
Maniquí,
maniquí, ahí está. Eso es un dummy. So, through silver silent summer air, the dummy of Bloom, rolled in a mummy, rolls rotatingly from the Lion's Head cliff into the purple waiting waters. So, in his dream, he imagines he commits suicide. He throws himself from a cliff. And the dummy mummy says, blur, 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 because he falls in the water and drowns. Far out in the bay between Bailey and Kish, lights from Erin's king sails, sending a broadening plume of coal smoke from her funnel towards the land. Councillor Nanetti. Nanetti appears. You remember this was a very famous mayor in Dublin because he was of Italian origin and he got the position of mayor. Alone on deck, in dark alpaca, yellow kite-faced, his hand in his waistcoat opening, declaims, "When my country takes her place among the nations of the earth, then and not till then let me my epitaph be written." I don't know if you remember who said these words. This is known as the dog speech. When this famous Irish hero was executed after one of the rebellions, you remember
Yes,
the one who was executed because he was, instead of escaping, he went to visit his lover, his wife or his girlfriend, I don't remember. And so he was caught, he was found guilty by the British, of course, and he was executed. And before he was executed, he was allowed to say something. And this was the beginning of his famous speech. When my country takes her place among the nations of the earth, because he was fighting for Ireland's independence. And not till then let my epitaph be written. Yes. So now the famous phrase is pronounced by Nanetti. Nanetti is the mayor in Dublin. And Bloom says, "Done, proof." So at this stage, Bloom dies again because he commits suicide and he says this and dies. And the nymph, loftily, "We immortals, as you saw today, have not such a place and no hair there either." So the nymph says, "I am immortal, I cannot die, and I don't have hair there." This is funny because this corresponds to Bloom when he went to the museum, you remember, to look at the statues, to see if the statues
yes,
have a hole in the buttock. Malena,
yes.
you don't remember?
No, I'm sorry. In the very beginning,
Not at the very beginning, but in more or less
after
the
the
third
burial,
chapter. ¿Cómo?
after the burial,
After
the
the burial,
funeral.
yes. After the funeral, he goes to the museum because
I don't
he
remember the museum.
well, he goes to the museum because he wants to check if the statues in the museum, they were Greek statues of women, if they had a hole in the buttocks, si tenían agujero en la cola. ¿Se acuerdan? Que
Yes.
fue a ver y
No.
les miraba la cola por atrás. Bueno, and so he discovered that they didn't have a hole and that they didn't have hair, pubic hair. The statues don't have a pubic hair. So, and now he remembers that, and the nymph says, "We are immortals, as you saw today, because she didn't die. We have not such a place, no tenemos el agujero, and no hair there either." So the nymph is telling Bloom this. "We are stone cold and pure." So we are stone cold, we are made of stone, and we are pure.
Computer,
We
yes.
eat electric light.
We
She
eat
arches her
electric
body in lascivious crispation, placing her forefinger in her mouth. "Spoke to me, heard from behind." How then could you? Because he spoke to me, because heard from behind, because Bloom went behind the statue. He went behind the statue to spy if the statue had a hole. Entonces la ninfa está ofendida que le ha ido a mirar el culo. Um, and she heard, no, I didn't see you, I heard you. And Bloom says, point the header abjectly. "Oh, I have been a perfect pig. I was a pig. Enemas too I have administered." 1/3 of a pint of quassia, to which add a tablespoon of rock salt. Up the fundament with Hamilton long syringe, the lady's friend. So now he remembers that he applied enemas. And this is the formula of the liquid that they
Of the
used in the
liquid from the enema.
Claro, and he says up the fundament, sí, hasta arriba, hasta el fundamento, and this Hamilton long syringe, the lady's friend, was the syringe they used for the enema. And the name says, in my presence, the powder puff, she blushes and makes a knee, and the rest. So Bloom says, yes, Peccavi, Peccavi, I have sinned. So he accepts, he acknowledges that he has sinned. I have paid homage on that living altar where the back changes name. This is so funny. I don't know if you understand what he says. I have paid homage, ¿sí? Le rendí tributo on that living altar where the back changes name. The living altar, donde la espalda cambia de nombre. El altar, well, that is the buttocks. So he said, I have paid homage, I have admired the end of the end of the back, and with sudden fervor. For why should the dainty, scented, jeweled hand, the hand that rules, and figures figures wine serpentine in slow woodland pattern around the tree stems cooing. So he feels that he has been sinful because he has admired, he has loved the buttocks. So Kitty appears here. Do you remember Kitty? In the thicket. Show us one of them cushions, and Flory, no, the voice of Flory. Here, a grouse wings clumsily through the underwood. The voice of Lynch. You remember that Lynch was with Stephen, no? Lynch was the other student who was there with Stephen. In the thicket, you piping hot, and the voice of Zoe. So all the prostitutes appear again. In the thicket, came from a hot place. And the voice of Vairag, you remember his grandfather? A bird chief, blue-streaked and feathered, in war panoply with his assegai, striding through a crackling canebrake over beech mast and acorns. Hot, hot, where sitting bull. So everybody comes again to accuse him of being, so sinful. And Bloom says, it overpowers me, the warm impress of her warm form. Even to sit where a woman has, especially with divaricated thighs, as though to grant the last favors, most especially with previously well uplifted white satin coat pants. So womanly, full, it fills me full. So this is a kind of song for the buttocks. Le hace como una elegía al culo, ¿sí? Porque he says, even to sit where a woman has sat. So he feels such love for that he wants the place where the woman has put her buttocks, no? And especially if the woman was wearing satin coat pants, ¿sí? La ropa de satén. So womanly, full, it fills me full. And the waterfall again, pila pula, pula puka, pula puka, pula puka. And the tree says, shh, sister, speak. And the nymph, eyeless, because the nymph doesn't have eyes in the statue, no? In Nan's white habit, coif and huge winged wimple, ¿sí? Ahora está vestida de monja la ninfa, con el hábito y la cofia. Softly with remote eyes, Tranquilla Convent, Sister Agatha, Mount Carmel, the apparitions of Knock and Lourdes, no more desire. She reclines her head, sighing, only the ethereal, where dreamy, creamy gull waves over the water's dull. So now the nymph has decided to become a nun. where in Noc and Lourdes, two places where the Virgin appeared, see? And so she doesn't have any more desire. She doesn't have any sexual desire, no? So Bloom half rises, his back trouser button snaps. And this is a very important moment because his bottom snaps. Se le salta el botón del pantalón. Yes. So this is the moment when his virility comes back. Yes. When the instant when he becomes a man again. And the button, two slats of the comb, they dance rainily by, shouldered, yelling flatly. So the slats, the prostitutes, start singing. Oh, Leopold lost the pin of his drawers. He didn't know what to do to keep it up, Because why has this happened? Well, his bottom has snapped because he has had an erection again. And so now he feels he's a man again. Mm? And Bloom says, you have broken the spell. So finally, this spell, this magic that he felt, is broken by the nymph. The last straw. If there were only ethereal, where would you all be? Postulants and novices, shy but willing like an ass pissing. So he imagines the nuns and novices, ¿sí? las monjas y las novicias, all these women, he says, you cannot be ethereal. You can be shy, but willing, like an ass pissing. This is a very strong image because when the donkey pisses, he shows a very big penis, you know? You know this. I don't know if you understand what I am saying. Yes?
Yes.
So he says that the novices and the nuns are not so pure, that they also have desires. And to think of this has made him a man again. And that has broken the magic, the spell that was making him a kind of a victim of masochism. Is that okay? Well, so we can stop here. We can have a little break. Do you think it's okay if we meet again at 5, 10 to 5 or 5? You tell me.
5.
At
5 or 10 to 5.
It depends on how long you need.
Whatever you decide is okay for me.
Me too.
Okay, so it is 20 to 5. Let's meet at 5 so we can have time to make some tea, okay?
Okay. Okay.
All
See you.
right. Okay. See you.